welcome to episode 96 of the This Old Knit podcast. I am your host, Nina, otherwise known as Ine on Ravelry, Instagram, and Pinterest. And you can find show notes for this episode and all previous episodes on the corresponding numbered thread of the Ravelry podcast group. So welcome to any new viewers and welcome back to any returning viewers. I appreciate you guys coming back every couple of weeks or however often I manage to podcast to spend some time with me. So we are in my yarn parlor, as I affectionately call it. So in our room, in our new home, we have like a formal living room that we would never have used for anything. So as you can see, it has tons of light. I'll have to figure out where I'm going to sit. I think ultimately I'll probably sit over there in the corner where the rocking chair is, but I don't have a rug for it right now. So I don't want to sit in it and rock on the wood floors. So I'm just kind of leaving it alone. I do have one on order from IKEA along with Megwin's mattress, but it will not arrive until I think the first week of August is what they said. It's a really long time. But their delivery is stupid cheap. It's only $29 for like a huge amount of stuff. So I think we ordered her mattress, which we're getting her queen size mattress, chair pad for in here for underneath this chair that I usually sit in to sew because it's like a folding chair. So it has little rubber feet, but actually one of the feet got lost in the move. So it has kind of a metal foot. So I don't want to sit in it again on the wood floor without a chair pad underneath of it. I had one previously in my old craft room, but we had carpet instead of wood flooring on the top floor. So I had one that had the little spikes. So that one's no good, and it was all cracked and messed up anyway. So yep, we just bought a new one that'll be flat just for wood flooring, and then a rug for under the rocking chair because again that was on carpet before. And a very large, like long rug for our entryway downstairs in the basement, which will be that's our main entry point to the house. So we're thinking in like the fall and winter, there's probably going to be a lot of mud and snow and salt tracked in there. So we wanted to make sure we protect the wood flooring. So it's going to be a long runner that goes all the way from the door up to the stairs there that comes up into the main part of the house. So all of that, $29 for shipping. Sorry, I have something happening with my contact. This is clearly very weird lighting. I wonder if I turn, no, because there's windows on both sides of me. So this is actually the best that I can kind of do here. So this is my bay window here. So I have a lot of plants and right now I kind of have my various jars. Here, I'll turn you a little bit so you can see. You're on an ironing board. You can see the leaf of a plant there. So that's one side. And then, am I shaking you? This is a very precarious setup. On the other side is, these are just straight windows, but my husband built me these little, shelves that I had them in my old craft room as well. They are kind of like modular, so they're pieces of wire that's like a mesh. I don't have any empty ones that I can show you, and then I can't reach that either. They have these little hook-on things that snap them together. So a lot of vendors use those at shows to hang their merchandise on. So I have those, and I built them into just a single shelving unit that goes all along the base of the windows. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cube positions, and then up on top I have all of my different No Makers bags. I have these full of all of my stash. So because Amanda is going out of business, She is selling a lot of her stuff in her shop super, super cheap. So I had 4 of these already, and I think I bought another 5 of them. And I used to have my stash kind of in a mixture of a bunch of different, like those bags you get when you buy comforters or sheets. So I was able to put them all into these really nice sturdy totes. I don't know if she has any more of these in the shop, but if she does, go get them because they're amazing. And I showed them last week as well, the ones I bought. So the ones she has currently are a little bit smaller than the ones that I got before, but not a huge size difference. She had them for, was it SSK? One of the shows where she was vending, she had them as a choice so you could carry them around at the show, which I do use them for that as well. Like when I go to yarn festivals, they're really, really nice because they collapse down really small. They're super lightweight, and you can see everything that's in your bag, so you know where it all is. So yeah, so I have those all along the top, other than one bag that I still have that's a huge bag. It's the bag from my Boppy pillow when I was pregnant. I bought a really huge, like, total body pregnancy pillow that, like, Velcroed into 3 pieces. And I still have stuff in that because some of those skeins are, like, the size of my head. So they would not fit into the Flasher Stash tote bags, which is what Amanda calls those on her website. So anyway, that one's still there. I have to figure out what I'm going to do with it. I may just put that somewhere else, or I might take those large skeins out and just sit them out. Since I don't have carpet here, I'm not as concerned about bugs, because the only problem I really had with my stash before was carpet beetles, and I don't have that problem because there is not carpet. So I can vacuum and sweep to my heart's content and make sure everything is clean underneath of them. That's really hard to do with carpet. Yeah, so there you go. I'm definitely gonna have to move. This is not gonna work at all, this lighting situation. Okay, I'll be right back. Better? It looks better. Okay, so now you're in a different corner of my craft room. It still might be a little bit weird. Oh my god. The other thing about the wood flooring is that it is not smooth. So it's not a flat surface. Scooting things on it is a little bit weird, and like,
Mommy?
you can hear it. Yes, Megwin?
Could you slice an apricot?
Wait, sorry. Had to go do some fruit slicing for Megwin. Excuse me, now I have something stuck in my throat. Okay. Scooch my orchid around so I can fit my coffee there. Okay, so today I am drinking some coffee out of my You Are Here Austin Starbucks mug. I've only been to 2 cities in Texas, Austin and Dallas. I kind of preferred Dallas over Austin, to be perfectly honest, but they were also at really different points in my life, so that could have had something to do with it. And my buns are not even at all. Hair buns, not my butt. So anyway, I did draw for the Q2 prizes of the Stash Your Shelf Challenge, and I have magic linked, is that what it's called, in the Ravelry thread for Chatter, the 2 winners, and they were Hecky Thump and Allison Rose Boom. So Hecky Thump won the needle gauge from No Makers, the octopus needle gauge, and Allison Roseboom won a Ravelry downloadable pattern of $10 US or less. So congratulations to both the winners. And this is a year-long knit-along, so feel free to keep putting your finished objects into the FO's thread and chattering away in the chatter thread. And I will draw for the third quarter will be July, August, September. So the beginning of October, I will draw the winner for that. And I'm thinking maybe I will try to get something at Rhinebeck, because I'm already going to get the Rhinebeck prize for the knit all the Rhinebeck sweaters knit along. So maybe I'll just get something there for one of the winners. And I do like doing 2 prizes, so I think a physical prize and then a pattern prize is a really nice mix, so then I get to, motivate more people to finish things. So I have this week 1 finished object. I've mainly been working on 1 whip, but I do have 2 others to show. Yeah, I do have 2 others to show. I'm swatching for another sweater, so I will talk about that as well. And then I have an acquisition that I got months and months and months ago, and I keep forgetting to show it to you. So I remembered today, so I'm gonna show it to you today. So, FO, I'm wearing it. I probably am gonna take it off after I show it to you because it's a little bit warm today, and I don't want to keep wearing a sweater for the whole podcast and be very uncomfortable. Plus, all the ends are not woven in. They are artfully tucked in right now so that I could show it and not have it distract you that there's ends hanging out everywhere. But none of my ends have been woven in yet for the sweater. It has not been blocked, so it probably is going to fit me a little bit better even once it's been blocked, because the arms are just a smidge tight. But I found with my honey pullover that the arms, once I blocked them, were a little bit looser than I would like. So I actually made sure that these were a little bit tighter, so that once I block them, they will loosen up a little bit and be just the perfect length, or perfect circumference. That's the word I'm looking for. So I'm going to stand up. So this is the So Faded sweater by Andrea Mowry. The only modifications that I did really were waist shaping. So I added some subtle waist shaping, and I actually used the row progression from the honey sweater because I really like how that one fits my body. So I started them just after I got past the fullest part of my bust, and I went down, till here. I worked straight for I think 2 inches, and then I just increased back out. I just finished increasing back out when I got to the ribbing. So this looks really weird when it's not on my body. And then I did the ribbing, and I actually did the ribbing a lot longer than the pattern called for. There's that fun end that I didn't keep artfully tucked in. So there's the back. And I did the 3/4 length sleeves. So I did the whole body in a size 5 needle. I went down 2 needle sizes for the ribbing. So this is a 3.5 millimeter. It's like a US 3, but I also have a 3.0 millimeter that is a US 3 as well. So colors, since this is the last time I'm talking about this, this is all done in Bad Wolf Girl Studios yarn, and you can find her shop on Etsy. Meg is an amazing dyer, and she actually really helped me with the color choice for my second color, because I had originally Pumpkin Pasties as my final color to go after this one, because this has a lot of orange in it. So I thought that that would be really good. It ended up being really bright orange. I will use it for something else, I think in a brioche project I have in mind. So it's a beautiful yarn. It just wasn't what I was looking for this sweater. But I chatted with her a bit about would her Gringotts color work, and she said yes, she thought it would. And I believe she might have dyed some up for me. I don't remember if she had it in the shop or not. So my first color, I'll show you on my sleeve because it's a little bit easier. My first color is called His Owl, and it's supposed to be like a Hedwig color. So it's all Harry Potter themed yarn. My second color is Gringotts for the Goblin Bank. My third color is Padfoot. And my fourth color is the Leaky Cauldron. And that one just brings in those kind of subtle fiery orange speckles you can see. Everything else is all neutrals. This Gringotts has kind of a bluey gray neutral, and then Padfoot is more of a gray background with some creamy white patches brought in and black speckles. And then Leaky Cauldron is a completely gray background with black and orange speckles, and there's some little white kind of undyed speckly bits as well. I actually really love how it flashed right here. I ended up kind of alternating from the front and back, the inside and outside of the cake here to break this up towards the bottom. But I think it's a nice detail around because it hit around the waist. Before, I had something like this happening with my Pandia's jewels, but it was happening up here. I don't need anything here emphasizing that. And it has a corresponding one back here. Yeah, you can see it there. And then a smaller one here. So, yeah, I love, love, love how it turned out. It's so comfortable. I love the neutrals. It's going to match so much stuff in my wardrobe. It was very, very easy. So I already have another So Faded sweater planned in peaches. I forgot to bring those over. So I'm going to go get those while I'm removing this sweater. And then I will come back and share. Okay. That was really warm. That sweater is super warm for just being sock weight. And it's knit at a pretty loose gauge, but yeah, it was warm. Okay, so I have quite a few peachy yarns, several of which I got from clubs, and some of which I got, and I thought they were maybe a little bit different color than they were, and then one is a leftover from a previous project. So, let's see, what was I going to do? Was I going to do that? I think that's what I was going to do. So there's going to be my fade. So overall it's going to be really beautiful, like peaches, roses, pinks, and some oranges. So I'll come a little bit closer so I can show you the colors. There. Yeah, it's going to be really nice. Okay, so the first one will be thrown across the room. The first one is Peepaloo Fields in Cobbler. So it's got some kind of blueberry, cobblery colors and some crusty colors in there, plus, of course, the peach. The second color will be my leftovers from my Exploration Station shawl. This is Hedgehog Fibers in Monarch. So Monarch is a little bit more orangey. It definitely has some dark orange bits, some hot pink speckles, and some black speckles. I love that one. And then it's going to go into one I've had in my stash for a really, really long time. This is Wool & Vine Yarns Volca Angry Orchard. I got this actually when it was a one-of-a-kind, and then Kristen was able to reproduce it, so she started carrying it more regularly in her shop, although she has not dyed this particular color in quite a while. So it has peaches, pinks and kind of warm caramel browns. And then the next one was from the Adelaide Cottage Gilmore Girls Club. And it is in her platinum twinkle base, so I will have a little bit of sparkle in the sweater a little bit further down. And this is called Lorelai's Dream. Oops. So as you can see, it's just a darker version of Angry Orchard. So it has more like a rose instead of a light pink. Some deeper peaches and darker browns. And then the last one is from the current Wool and Vine Yarns Club, the Strange Brew Club, which is all one-of-a-kind skeins. And it is Alchemy on the Volca base. I think I've showed this on the podcast before, but it was the first installment. I'm pretty sure it was the first installment. So you can see again, like, way darker version of sort of the same colors as Angry Orchard, but it has these plummy purples in there, which Angry Orchard does not have, and also some neon orange speckles. So that'll be the bottom, and I kind of want to work it so that I get more of the bottom color in, because in my Harry Potter themed sweater, I did not get a ton of my fourth color in, and this will actually be 5 colors. However, I don't think I have a ton of this color, so I may make this color be a little bit less because it's a leftover, and then make up for it by doing more of the bottom color. So that's my thought on that one. Don't know when I'm going to cast that on, but it will probably be something I try to complete before Rhinebeck, and definitely before it gets cold. So Faded sweater. It's a great sweater pattern. It's really well written, very easy, really nice. So the next thing, the whip, because that's my only finished object. My main whip I've been working on is my Zweig sweater, and I tried it on for the first time, I think last week, and it fits amazingly. I'm really happy with it. Man, I feel like I'm really far away from you guys too. Come closer. So I'm really happy with the fit of it. I didn't swatch at all for this sweater. I think I was chatting with Kristen that day. Kristen from the Yarngasm podcast, and I was having a really crappy day, like just a crappy day, and I was like, I need to cast something new on. I just want to work on something new. I hate all my projects. And she was kind of feeling the same way, so I said, let's be naughty, let's just cast on stuff and not swatch. I don't remember if she actually did or did not cast on without swatching. Was it when she was doing her Threadmuir sweater? I don't remember. But anyway, I didn't swatch. I just cast on. But I do know that most of the time, working fingering weight on a size 5 needle tends to give me the gauge that a lot of designers are designing at right now. And I did have my other So Faded sweater on the needles, my Pandia's Jewels one. I knew I got gauge with that, and I did swatch, wash, block that swatch. And this is the same fingering weight. This is the Zweig pattern from Boyland Knitworks. So I knew that I could probably achieve the same gauge. So my yarns, the top color, this sort of grayish brown, is an undyed yarn that I got from No Makers. It was a base that Amanda was trying out and ultimately decided not to carry, So she put the remaining skeins she had in her garage sale section at a super, super deep discount. I got 6 skeins of it. It's some kind of merino yak silk blend. I don't know the proportions. I don't know how much yardage that is in each one, but I would guess it's well over 400 yards based on the amount of sweater that I completed with one skein. So I completed all the way down to like here with one skein of that yarn. I just added my second skein. I tried a little bit of alternating here in the middle because I was a little bit worried since it's undyed, but I could not even tell at all the difference between the two, so I just decided I was not going to alternate because there was too much going on. I didn't want to mess with having 2 balls of yarn attached to it. My contrasting color is Hedgehog Fibers in the Teacup colorway. I used, I think, 1/3 of that skein, I would say. I still have a ton of this yarn left, so it may ultimately go and live in a fade. I don't know. That is one nice thing about the technique of fading. Kudos to Andrea Mowry for just bringing that into all of our lives because it helps me use up my scraps. So I often, for socks or for shawls, have well over half of a ball of sock yarn left, and then kind of sits in my stash. I use it a little bit in scrap projects. I do some swaps with other people, but I just have a lot of yarn that I don't use all of it, and I want to. So this is really helping expand my horizons as far as what's possible. So I have completed all of the color work, and I am now working down through the body. So on the body of the sweater, you work these little cable crosses. They're very simple. There's only 4 rows of patterning and then lots of plain rows in between. So it's enough to keep your interest through this whole body, but not so much that I can't knit it without the pattern, because I totally can. I'm actually finding them very satisfying to work, and it's keeping my interest. I have a little progress keeper in there. That's a funfetti cake my mom gave me for my birthday from, it's not the Gnome Knitter. You're all screaming it out there. But anyway, I'll link it in the show notes. But yeah, I do really like it, and it really matches this teacup colorway. So it's not marking anything right now. It's marking the little place where I was trying the subtle alternating skeins, because I wanted to see after I got a bit done if it really stood out. It doesn't at all. So I think I maybe have I don't know, that much more of the body to do, like 2 or 3 inches of body to do, and then I will start the ribbon. So as this one is kind of winding down a bit, I wanted to think about my next sweater project. So like I said, I've got my fade here for the peach fade that I want to do. And I also have a couple of colorwork sweaters that I want to work. So this is in a bag that I sewed for myself. I'm thinking about, I have a lot of this material left. I'm thinking about sewing one of these as one of the Knit All the Rhinebeck Sweaters Cal prizes. Let me know what you guys think. Do you like it? It's got little pumpkins and an orange zipper. I think this is a great fall bag, and yeah, I think it would be a really good Rhinebeck sweater prize, and I will make it this size because this is obviously large enough for a sweater project. So I have 2 of the main color balls of yarn still in here, and my contrast color is still in here, so there's plenty of room, and my project's in there, which is now well over half of a sweater. And there's an Oceans tin. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking will be the other prize that I'll do of my own stuff for all the Rhinebeck sweaters. So I will get one thing at Rhinebeck and I will sew a bag. Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. Then the other whips that I've worked on are socks. And I haven't really felt the mojo on the socks, but I do know that we now live in a very cold climate, or what will be a cold climate in the wintertime. Because we're in Connecticut now. So I want to make sure that everybody in my family has a good stock of hand knit socks. I have a lot. I don't need any more right now. I have plenty to wear every day for 2 weeks and not have to do laundry. That's a lot. But my husband does not, and my daughter doesn't. My daughter has more than my son, and Joshua definitely doesn't. He just has 2 pair? Yeah, I think 2 pair. So for my husband, I have done this much of a leg this is the first sock. So the leg is knit in West Yorkshire Spinners, the Country Birds collection, but it's the first one, not the second one, because they released more colors. I don't have any of those yet. This colorway is called Mallard, so it's a very nice self-striping yarn in a nice British wool. And then the heel, I'm working a really nice contrast heel, which matches pretty well with that brown. This is Knit Picks Risata. It is a discontinued yarn from Knit Picks, but I love it, and I wish they would bring it back because it is the most awesome sock yarn that I've ever worked with for just durability. So this color is called Cocoa. I bought a crap ton of it when it was being discontinued. Sorry, the composition is wool, cotton, and elastic and nylon. So it has a stretch to it, like kind of stretches and bounces back. So it's really nice for heels, toes, and cuffs. And I have a sweater's quantity of this in an undyed like cream color, which I want to knit a sweater from the, it's not Botanical Knits, but it's the same designer. Man, losing it. Yeah, it's Knitbot and the lady who does Never Not Knitting. Those two together, they did a collaboration. So there's the ball. It's a huge amount of yardage that you get with West Yorkshire Spinners. And it's a really good yarn. So I'm knitting them at a pretty tight gauge because my husband is pretty hard on his socks. So hopefully those will last. The other socks, okay, I left my notions pouch. The other socks, I'm sorry, some hair out of my little things and it keeps going in my mouth. That I am knitting are out of Patons Kroy in the Woodsy colorway. Thought I put a label in here, but it appears I did not. My crochet hook. I was looking for that. I need that for my Hexie Puffs, and I was making some Hexie Puffs last night. At bedtime. So this one, oddly, is a really similar palette to the West Yorkshire Spinners, purely by accident. I had that bit of leg. I had like this much of the West Yorkshire Spinners leg done for a really long time, and then I kept stealing the needles from it to knit other things. So I finally was like, Nina, you just need to finish this sock. Stop stealing its needles for other stuff. So this is Patons Kroy in the Woodsy colorway. It's one of their newer self-striping. So there it is in the ball cake. I caked it because I don't like the thing is rolling around in my sock bag, but I can easily have 2 cakes in here and then they kind of sit still. So they're center pull cakes, and this stripe sequence is really cool. So I'm gonna bring it closer. So it's got a green speckly stripe, a tan speckly stripe, plain cream, 1 light tan, 1 solid chocolate brown, 1 tan with chocolate going one direction, solid tan, tan and chocolate going the other direction, and green. And I have just now finished 1 full sequence of the yarn. That is just 1 sequence. So I think I will do 1 more full sequence, and then that'll be the whole leg length that I need for him. I don't know what I'm going to do yet with the heel. I actually have Rasada in like a tan color, so I might use that just to change it up a little bit, because this brown is a little bit darker than the brown in the West Yorkshire spinach. So I don't think the cocoa will match with it, but I do have that kind of warm tan color also in Rasada. So I think that's what I'm going to use for the heels and toes. So that's kind of where that's at. So hopefully I will be able to get a socks pair complete for him soon. Oddly, if I finish both of these socks, I will have a pair, but it won't be the same sock. You just wear mismatched socks, right? Okay. And then the, that's it for whips. And the sweater that I'm swatching for is the Sipola sweater by Boylan Knitworks again. I'm going to do the short sleeved version so that for Rhinebeck I will have 3/4 length sleeves with my So Faded, another 3/4 length sleeves if I need them. I have my full length sleeves from the Feather Nest pullover that I already knit. I will have another full length sleeve sweater maybe that I'll show you next that I want to do, and then I will have a short sleeve choice. So I'll be covered for all of the weather contingencies. So my Sipola sweater I am making out of super vintage stash from Wool and Vine Yarns. These are the tags that she used to use a long, long time ago. It is in the Strassa base, and it is Jilted Rose. So this was the first batch of Jilted Rose that she ever dyed. And it used to be a little bit more on the mauve side. I feel like now it's a little bit more on the pinky rose side. So just keep that in mind. It could also be that the bases take dye very differently because she doesn't carry this base anymore, but she dyes it on her Volca base, which has more cashmere and stuff in it. So it could just be the uptake of the dye is different. Here is the yarn in the cake though. Oh, amazing color. So that's Jilted Rose. I have 2 skeins of that, which is also part of the reason that I have to do the short sleeve version, I think, because I don't have enough yarn, but I really want this yarn in that pattern. I can just see the sweater in my mind. If that, does that resonate with you guys? I feel like that just happens sometimes. I see a pattern in a particular yarn and it has to become that thing. That's just what it has to be. And the other thing is also super vintage stash from 2007. And this is Malabrigo sock in the Velvet Grapes colorway. So it's this very rich burgundy and purple. It's so beautiful, that color. So this is going to be my contrast color. I only have one skein of it. See, back here it looks black, but you guys see it's not black at all. It's gorgeous. So that's going to be my contrast color. So that'll be the neck part and then down into the color work, and then the body is going to be this color. It's a really nice mix, I think. So that's my swatch so far. I am swatching for this one because I have not worked with Strasa in a really long time. So I want to make sure that my gauge is the same with Strasa and see how it behaves when it's washed, because again, I haven't worked with it in a long time. So there you go. That's what it looks like knit up. It's really nice and subtle. So I'm hoping to finish this gauge swatch today, wash it and block it, and maybe I will have cast on for Sipila by the next time that I podcast. And it is in a bag from the lovely Mina Phillip. Back when she was still sewing bags. She is not any longer. She is the Knitting Expat on Ravelry and Instagram, and she has the Knitting Expat podcast as well. And she is just delightful and awesome. So this was a fabric that she bought when she was living in Bahrain. So it is a hand woven fabric. She actually showed in one of her earlier podcast episodes some footage that she took of the two guys that were weaving it with like a foot loom. It was really cool. So I was super excited to have won this beautiful bag. She has a little kitty zipper pull on it, and it is very large, so it perfectly fits 3 skeins of yarn, and my pattern fits down in there as well if it's folded in half. And it just matches. I love matching my project bags to my projects. Okay, it doesn't always happen, but in this case it did. So that feels like I just zipped that in. Zipping my swatch into my zipper there. That sucks. Okay. And then last thing that I have wound yarn for and plan to knit, but have not yet cast on for or swatched for, is the Sunset Highway pullover. And that, again, is another pattern by Boylan Knitworks. I'm not a stalker, I promise, just a huge fan. And this one is going to be all yarn from another of my favorite dyers, who is Shannon, the dyer behind the Yarn at Home Mom. She has a deal right now, I think, in her shop where everything is 15 or 20% off. If I could buy stuff, I would. I can't. Go do it. You will not regret it. So these are all her yarns that I'm going to use for my Sunset Highway pullover. So this one I got in the Gilmore Girls club that she had, I think last year. You could get a 6 or 12 month subscription. I went for the 12-month subscription. I loved this color so much. I wanted to put it into a sweater. I didn't have enough. Then the delightful Jilly, who is the Knitting Broomstick on Etsy and on Instagram. Yeah, on Instagram as well, and on Ravelry, of course. She does have a shop where she sews bags now, but I have not yet partaken of her beautiful bags. I will at some point. Anyway, she was destashing her club colorways, and I picked up 2 of them. One was the mocha caramel frappuccino, or caramel mocha, whatever. Mochaccino is the name in it, but this was the other one, and this one is called 21 is the Loneliest Number. So I have 2 of these. I just brought one over to show you because each one needs to. So this is it all caked up. So it has speckles of hot pink, gold, black, and purple. And it is from the episode of Rory turning 21. So that will be the main body of the sweater, my main color. Then the main contrast color that's going to be like all of the little, they're kind of like jewel things or feathers is what they kind of look like, is going to be this beautiful thing, which is called That's Not Lake Minnetonka. Shannon was trying to dye my That's Not Lake Minnetonka, and she made a mistake in the dye pot that then gave rise to this colorway, which is the only colorway that I've ever gotten to name. So I feel like it's my one claim to fame. I called it Cheetos and Grape Soda, or Gilmore Movie Night, because the Gilmore Girls have movie nights where they eat tons of like really crap food. So I thought of Cheetos and Grape Soda as something that they would totally eat. So you can see in this one, it has those really subtle speckles of orange and pale green along with the purple and black. So this is what happened in the dye pot when she was trying to dye this for me. So she asked if she should reproduce it and name it, and I said yes. It looks like Cheetos and Grape Soda. Or you could call it Gilmore Movie Night. So she named it Gilmore Movie Night. And on my particular label, she wrote Cheetos and Grape Soda. So there you go. So this one is That's Not Lake Minnetonka. And that will be another of my colors. And then inside of the little loopity-loos, I'm going to use this color, which is Paris Needs No Embellishment. This one Shannon actually sent me as a housewarming gift, and it was so sweet and kind, and I cannot wait to put this into the sweater and have it as a really nice memory. So it is a really nice rose color with some darker rose speckles and gold speckles. And then my final color, which you don't need as much of, and it's kind of like a little chevron-y stripe, is this one. This is left over from my Spotlight shawl, I believe. So I held this together with a colorway I got in a swap with Ina Pina, who hosts the Ina Knits podcast. And that's a really nice podcast as well. So go check it out if you have not yet. This one is a singles base, but I think it'll be fine because it's not going to be a very big section, and I really wanted to have it in my sweater. This colorway is called Vicious Trollop, which is the name of a lipstick that Lorelai lets her mother borrow at one point in the show. So it had to be somewhere in my almost all Gilmore Girls themed sweater. So main body color, contrast color number 1, contrast color number 2, and contrast color number 3. I was originally going to do a gold for this one, and it was just too much. I was like, I don't like it. It's too many colors. But this I really like a lot. I think it'll be a little bit more subtle and something that I'll wear a lot, but it will still have enough contrast to make it interesting, and they all kind of pull in different aspects of this beautiful color right there. So, all of Shannon's yarns for my Sunset Highway pullover. And I do kind of want to cast on this one too, but it will not be a travel project because there's way too much yarn. There's no way I could carry this much yarn. This will probably have to go into my Harry Potter bag because that's the only one I have that's big enough for a, what will be a 5 skein. Yeah, 5 skein project. But I had a 6 skein project in there before, so it will definitely fit it. So that's what I'm going to do for my other Rhinebeck sweater. And I think that's probably all the Rhinebeck sweaters I'm going to be able to complete, because I do also want to knit a sweater for my husband. We're going to do just a plain top-down raglan cardigan for him. I'm thinking probably one of the Tin Can Knits patterns. Just because those are really basic, and I want to get the fit right for him and figure out what size is the right one for him. So I have been taking more of my Aunt Lynn's stash and rescanning and washing it. I'm almost all the way through it. There was just so much. So I got 10 skeins of Barocco Vintage in like a dark navy blue color. I had no idea what I was going to do with it, but I just, you know, Barocco Vintage is a good workhorse yarn, and I figured I could probably knit some kind of sweater out of it. So, yeah, Josh said that would be a nice color for him, so I'm going to go ahead and swatch for that as well. But I washed it all last night along with four or five skeins of blue Lamb's Pride Superwash. I think it's Blue Mystic is the colorway. And God, that yarn was so dirty. Like, so much stuff came off of it between the two. I don't know if it was just that it had been sitting in storage for a long time or what, but the water was just really mucky. So I'm glad I didn't put it with my main stash yet, but it's still drying. So once it finishes drying, I will skein some up and, I'm not skein some up, wind some up into a cake. And then I will start swatching for a sweater for him. So probably, you know, I'm talking about 3 more sweaters for me. That's probably all I'm going to be able to do before October gets here. So that is all the plans I have to share with you. And then the last thing I have to share with you is the acquisition I was talking about before, and it is a magazine. So when I was traveling here for work before we moved to Connecticut, I checked out the local yarn store here in the area where I work, and it's called Village Wool. Gabby from the Once Upon a Corgi podcast actually talked about it in her maybe 2 podcast episodes ago when she was doing the I-94 yarn crawl, which kind of goes up and down New England. So one of her stops was Village Wool, which is my local yarn store now. So I got this copy of Interweave Knits, which I had never seen anywhere else in Ohio when we lived there, and it is called it's the Winter 2018 North Country Knits issue. So it's all about color work, natural wools. There's some Lopi designs in here. And my local yarn store actually carries all the different Icelandic yarns, which I'd never seen in person before, probably because Ohio doesn't get cold enough to use Icelandic yarns, but Connecticut does. So I get to try those out. And I really love the different designs in here. There's a ton of great information and articles, just like always. There's men and women designs. I actually really like this one with the zipper. And it gives instructions for how to put the zipper in, which I'm going to attempt to do on a different sweater for Josh, so that's good. This one is called the Roan Pullover, and they work it in like gradient neutrals. I love that one. It's super pretty. That one is worked in Brooklyn Tweed Shelter. Then there's, this is worked in Plymouth Galway, which I've worked with before a long time ago, but, you know, it would work in Pattons or, you know, any other rustic wool. There's a poncho that's actually pretty nice. And then the Iditarod pullover is pretty, but my husband would never wear it because the turtleneck, he'd get way too hot. But if you have a man in your life who would wear such a thing, go for it. And then the Grayling cardigan is one of the reasons I got it. So it is a modern take on Icelandic knitting, but it's worked in Lopi yarn. So it's a belted cardigan, belted shawl collar cardigan. Look at that back. I love it. It's super pretty. So that is the thing that I definitely want to knit out of this magazine. And then this one is actually a nice one that might be good to make for my husband. It's called the Anchorage cardigan. So it has some cables, saddle shoulders, slanted pockets, and a zipper. I think that is all the designs that are in this magazine. Nope, I'm wrong. That's the colorwork section. And then there's another section that's just other stuff. So I really like these, the Yukon River stockings. They're super long knee-highs with cables, and they're made out of Aran weight yarns. They just look really cozy. And then this sweater is the other one that I really want to make. It's called the Klondike pullover, and it's made out of Alaphos Lopi. So again, a Lopi yarn. It has cables, saddle shoulders, and a mock turtleneck. But look at it. Oh, it just looks so crazy. Ah, don't touch the ironing board.
No.
Yeah. I'm almost done.
Okay.
Okay. And then there's a couple more things in here as well. The Grand Forks pullover is made in Green Mountain Spinnery with mohair. The Ibex Valley mittens. They did these in Jameson Spindrift, which I showed in the last podcast that I have a lot of now.
Do I have to pick download or cancel?
I think just cancel. You don't have to download the new version. And the Dawson City pullover in Blue Sky Fibers Woolstock worsted. Clearly Interweave Knits sees that colorwork yokes are the rage right now. And the Mount Lorne pullover, which is made from Fiber Company Cumbria worsted. Look at that yoke. Wow. So pretty. So you can see why I got this magazine, because out of the projects that are in here, about 90% of them I want to knit. I can't often say that about a magazine, so once I saw that there were so many, I clearly had to buy it. So I bought this and the was it Dirty Water Dye Works or something? The blue and the green that I got. I got the green one for my mom for her birthday, and the blue one was for me. At the same time I got this. So if you've been watching for a while, you remember I shared those back in like March. So this is, I've just been sitting on this. I haven't been sharing it. I kept forgetting it on my shelf. I was putting away my magazines and stuff the other day when I was arranging all of my craft room, and I came across it and I was like, I've never shared that on the podcast. I should totally do it. So I think this is still available. You might still be able to find it at your local yarn store. I highly recommend it. It's got a ton of great designs in it this time, and I'm really glad that I got it. So that is everything I have for this week. Keep knitting sweaters, keep knitting stuff from your stash or your shelf, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great week or 2 weeks, and I will talk to you later. All right, bye.